Elaine said I was looking shaggy.
Never invited to any. Those are more like.
It's 7 p.m. on Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and I'm going to call this regular City Council meeting to order. I do want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and if Mayor Pro Tem would lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council members Cedar and Strader are asked to both be excused this evening from tonight's meeting. Councilmember Whalen?
Move to excuse.
Second. It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Hall to excuse Councilmember Cedar and Strader this evening. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. And then I just want to note for the record, tonight we have Planning Manager Stallnecker, Director Madden, Interim Director Robeck, Chief Hernandez, and City Clerk Tricia Summers. Next up on the agenda is citizen participation. The purpose of the public comment period at this meeting is for those wishing to address the council on any matter. It's not intended for debate or discussion with the public. Per RCW 42.17a-555, the support or opposition of any candidate or ballot measure cannot be made in a public meeting or during the public comment period. When coming to the podium, please remember to state your name and city for the record, and we kindly remind you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. We have two individuals this evening. The first one is Clay Howard. Mr. Howard, can you hang on just one moment? We need to put the microphone. That microphone's not hooked up.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Clay Howard. I live here in Milton. I wasn't aware of the prerequisite to get your stuff out. I do have my comments printed if you'd like a copy.
Yeah, we can give them to the clerk, and then we can distribute that way.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. There's a chart on there, and then my comments are on the back.
Okay.
So good evening, council members and Mayor Cheryl. Thank you. My name is Clay Howard, and about 3 months ago, my wife and I moved to a different home here in Milton. We were in Milton before, but moved to a different part. Nothing about how we live changed, and our water use is the same, but when we got our first bill, we were shocked. It was significantly higher than before, and we didn't understand why. We discovered the difference was due to the size of our water meter. Our new home has a 1-inch meter instead of a 3/4 inch meter. And that one change raised our monthly base water rate from $40 to almost $147, which is a 270% increase. Just because of the meter size, not our actual usage. We were told the Public Works Director would look into it, and we were referred to the 2023 water rate study. And we read all 46 pages of it. The study explains the city's financial needs and infrastructure planning, which we respect and support, but it does not explain or justify its large increase in base rates between the meters. There's no cost breakdown or usage modeling, no explanation of why a 1-inch customer would be charged so much more. To better understand whether this is typical, we compiled a spreadsheet, which you have, comparing base rates from 15 nearby public water districts. The data shows that most cities increase the base rate by only 50 to 60%, typically to a 1-inch meter. None came close to the 270% increase that we see here in Milton. Our city rate is nearly 5 times higher than the regional average, which makes us a serious outlier. We also looked at the national industry best practices. The American Water Works Association, which publishes a manual called M1 principles of water rates, fees, and charges, and it's used by utilities across the country to design equitable cost-based rate structures and to communicate those rates in ways that build public trust and understanding. That kind of guidance matters, especially in a smaller community like ours. And we're not here to argue or oppose infrastructure improvements. We understand the need for stable revenue. But when a charge is this disproportionate and there's no clear explanation, it begins to feel unfair. And that's why we're asking the city to take another look at the 1-inch base rate and consider whether it is truly equitable, cost justified, and in line with other cities are doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you.
And next we have Susan Johnson.
Susan Johnson, Milton. I just wanted to come in and talk about 15th and Taylor Street again. And I'm glad the city's going to really look at that in their TIB. And I was going to compliment Councilmember Cedar. We had a good conversation out at the stage, which is wonderful, by the way, for the ribbon cutting. And I kept saying, and those that know me from council, I said we need a four-way stop or we need lights. But his idea really made me switch my lines of thought, and that when we look at Tacoma, in the neighborhood streets, they have little monument areas. Instead of a big circle, it's just the streets go around, the one street goes around, and it slows down the main street, which would be our Taylor, tremendously. And you can look at Yakima heading towards Parkland. They have a couple that way. And you say they're a circle, but they're not taking property. They're on the easement parts of, and the road just continues over, but there's something in the middle. You can call it an environmental block, a monument. A lot of them are a cement thing with plants in the middle. But because of Taylor being uphill, you need to have something tall that tells you better stop. We've had 2 accidents, the bad accident this weekend and the weekend last year. And so it's time. Whether or not we can have crosswalks, we don't have crosswalks there, but that's a main thoroughfare getting to the park from Edgewood side over. And I want to thank the police department for everything you do around to keep us safe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes citizen participation. Moving on to additions and deletions. Council, I just want to note that I have revised 6A and 6B agenda bills in front of you. I had a major typo and committed our 2 residents to over 100 years of service. So yeah, so there's just a little typo there that we caught this morning and have fixed. Are there any other additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass? Councilmember Peretti?
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Councilmember Peretti and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to pass the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. Moving on to the next part of our agenda this evening, it is appointments to some boards and commissions. So the first one, originally found on page 21 of your packet, is the appointment of Nicholas Gordon to the Civil Service Commission. I had the pleasure of meeting with Nicholas recently, along with the police chief, and we felt that his expertise, especially in human resources, would be greatly appreciated on this Civil Service Commission. He's invested in our community and is eager to contribute to the continued success and integrity of the Milton Police Department. And we feel that because of his background and his commitment that he would make a strong candidate. And so I'm recommending that Nicholas Gordon be appointed to the Civil Service Commission for a term that expires in 2031. And so, Nicholas, can I have you just come up and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas. I've been a Milton resident for about 4.5 years. This position was kind of sprung on me, and it kind of just hit home. Like Shanna had said, I've got, a pretty decent background in human resources, along with some experience to support it. But a lot of my passion for it comes from a family of first responders and how important I feel it is for putting people in the right roles based off of their skill set and potential, not just based off of seniority position. So I think that was kind of how I found this, landed in it. So.
Perfect. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Whalen?
Well, just the comment I have is welcome and appreciate your interest in the civil service.
Thank you.
And not sure what the experience we really need for civil service. You probably know more about it than I do. I haven't studied what's expected and so forth. What great skills do you bring to the civil service?
I've got an extensive background in management, leadership, operations, and improvement, and I feel like a good part of my success in my professional career has been putting folks in the right roles and building the bench within the team that I have, and I think that's something that's definitely important for any municipality.
And it's always welcome to have new vision on a group like the civil service to
Well, I appreciate you welcoming me.
bring things together. Thank you.
Councilmember Whalen, did you want to make a motion to approve this?
Yes, I would. Move to approve the mayor's appointment of Nicholas Gordan to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire March 31 of 2031.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the mayor's appointment of Nicholas Gordon to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire March 31st, 2031. Councilmember Whalen, did you have anything else to add?
I didn't think you were young enough to go to 31. No, that's understood. Thanks for the correction on it. No further.
Okay.
Nothing further.
Councilmember Hall?
Welcome, and I was originally on the police commission, so I know how important it is, and we have a great police chief and a great set of great people under him, so welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. It has been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the mayor's appointment of Nicholas Gordon to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire March 31st, 2031. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
So we have another appointment this evening. It is originally found on page 25 of your packet. Oh, nope, just joking, not 25. 24, I believe. 23. It is a appointment to the Planning Commission. You may recognize Justin Murray as he currently sits on our park board and has been on there since 2021. When I spoke with him recently, he said he has gained valuable insight and knowledge serving on that committee, but that he's eager to expand that experience and knowledge and continue to serve Milton in a greater capacity. He has a passion for thoughtful growth and desire to help Milton's future make him a. Let me start that over. His passion for thoughtful growth and desire to help shape Milton's future makes him a strong addition to the Planning Commission. And so it is my recommendation that we appoint Justin Murray to the Planning Commission to end in May of 2031. Justin, did you want to come up and say anything?
Hi there, Justin Murray, City of Milton here. I'm third generation Milton resident, currently vice chair on the Parks Board along with Dustin Madden here. Just really looking to, gain more knowledge, more skills, what I can do to serve the City of Milton in a greater capacity. And I think the Planning Commission is kind of my next step in looking to the future of what else I can bring to the city.
Get a motion? Councilmember Whalen?
Move to approve the mayor's appointment of Justin Murray to the Planning Commission for a term to expire May 31, 2031.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve the mayor's appointment of Justin Murray to the Planning Commission for a term to expire May 31st, 2031. Councilmember Whalen, did you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you. Greatly appreciate the service that you've given the city up to this time and the expected service you're going to give the city as a planning commissioner. It's a lot more complicated than the park board. It's a lot more in-depth and critical. And I'm not saying the park board is not critical to the city, but the planning commission has a different level of commitment and expectations. So welcome. I wish you great
Thank you.
luck, or you're going to enjoy it. Yeah, I think you know somebody that I know that's on the planning.
I think so.
commission.
I think so. Slightly familiar.
And I'm sure you could give some great advice in moving forward. So thank you for your willingness.
Of course, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you want to speak to your second?
Thank you. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that you're going to take that passion you have for the park board and take it to the planning commission. You'll learn a lot.
I'm really excited.
And stepping stones. But yeah, it's always nice to have people who are, committed to the city to go in and step into roles like that. And I shouldn't say wish you luck, have fun. And bring a new perspective if you want.
Agreed.
Any other comments? Okay. It has been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve the mayor's appointment of Justin Murray to the Planning Commission for a term to expire May 31st, 2031. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. Congratulations. Can we get council and Nick and Justin for a quick photo op? Okay. So we have one more item left this evening. It is on page 25 of your packet. It is ordinance 2109-25 for co-living, for a code amendment for co-living. I'm going to turn the floor over to our planning manager, Stallnecker, and then following her review, I will need a motion to open up the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this is a simple amendment to the use table and adding a definition, which allows co-living dwellings. This is, in essence, it's just a reminder, because it's been a little over a month or two since we last talked about it. It is just simply another type of family use. The intent is to increase just the diversity and affordability in houses. It gives another option if somebody wanted to build multifamily housing in a multifamily zone to instead of your typical maybe apartment, where you have your bathroom, kitchen, and living space all together, it allows more of a dorm room feel or some sort of cohabitation where maybe everyone has their own room, maybe they share bathrooms, maybe they share a kitchen space. It just gives a couple little variety. If you look on page 27, just a reminder that it's only allowed in the zones that allow multifamily. So the ones that are heavily lined in blue, that's the only zones that it would be allowed in. It's not allowed in any of our single-family residential areas unless, again, unless it's not allowed in the NR1 at all. There is some options in NR2, but that's only if you go through a conditional use permit. So the Planning Commission did recommend this after their public hearing. The City Council held a public hearing on April 21st. It did go through the full process with the state. No comments were received from them. So it is on for action tonight.
Someone like to make a motion?
Question.
Okay, let me get a motion first, just to. Councilmember Hall?
Move to approve ordinance 2109-25 related to co-living dwellings.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve ordinance 2109-25 related to co-living dwellings. Councilmember Hall, did you want to speak to your motion?
I think Bob wants to ask a question, so I'd like to have him ask
Okay.
his question first.
Hang on, Councilmember, or,
I mean, I'm sorry, I was
it's
thinking
okay.
muted. My fault.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you want to speak to your second before?
Yes, please. So this is, you kind of use the dorm room sort of concept. So that could be somebody could either convert their home in that way or.
It's not allowed in single family, so it's not the only way that would be is like if they happen to have a non-conforming home in a multifamily zone.
That's what I was,
Yeah, so it doesn't apply to the neighborhoods in our
Right.
community. It would be in the, again, our multifamily zone, the uptown, which allows multifamily. So in most cases, it's probably somebody would build something new. I don't know how likely that would be in Milton, because usually what you would get that for is places where you more have a higher level of either students or people that are beginning their, life, or the other side. I mean, some of our elderly stuff could be, sort of already kind of falls into that. So it would be that kind of situation, but it wouldn't be in any of our, it wouldn't affect any of our existing single family N1.
I mean, because I know in the past,
The majority
at
of them too.
colleges, a lot of their old dormitories were essentially, they were homes and they had converted them. I understand that they're, in this case, they're only in specific zones. So my point was, if you had a house that was in those specific zones, could they just then convert the?
Yes, they'd have to go through, I guess, the process to get it approved as that. There might be some building code changes and stuff if they were using it, depending on, we would have to look at that. So yeah, if you happen to have that.
Okay. I mean, it would blend in with with the zones that you've delineated here. So,
And again, it's just an option.
right, they don't
If
have
someone,
to do it.
nobody has to do it. It's similar if someone wanted to build studio apartments or wanted to do 3-bedroom apartments or townhouses. It just gives another option.
Right, okay. I maybe didn't ask my question correctly in the beginning.
You're good.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor, and so forth. It's kind of a surprise to me, the changes, the rapid changes that were taken from ADUs into open housing up and so forth. Are these becoming a business in doing this? It's not a relative, it's not restricted to relatives and so forth. It's an open market opportunity for people to come and live under different circumstances. The same thing with additional ADUs. That seems to me to be you don't have to answer yet. That seems to me to be a business venture now, as opposed to accommodating families and so forth. How does the state looking at this? Is this a business? Thank you.
I'm not sure that this particular ordinance is not related to ADUs.
No.
This particular ordinance is simply creating a new multifamily use.
Multifamily means family use. Multifamily. Or are you talking about somebody outside of your family and so forth coming in and occupying part of the residency that you live in? But are they being charged to do that? If they're being charged to do that, they're in business of selling.
It would be no different than, it would be in a similar business as an apartment complex.
So that, and apartment complexes are businesses.
Apartment complex is run by, yeah, it's a business, so this would be no different than that.
So they're going to be run as a business with the business license and all that is inclusive in a apartment.
Yes.
That's my understanding.
If someone came in, I mean, they would be under the same guidelines and rules as we would, if they came in for a co-living, they were building a structure or otherwise. Yes, the idea is that they're renting out individual rooms. Then yes, they would be a business similar to an apartment complex.
Okay, and how do we know when this is occurring? Because they come in and get a license, or is it something we identify that there's more housing? How is this managed?
So-
To see that's done under a business license?
Yeah, if they were coming in and wanting to construct one of these, it would be similar to, obviously then we're aware and they have to go through all the steps involved. If someone happened to have an existing house, I guess, in a multifamily zone, and if we became aware that they had converted it, then we would have to address that as we would normally. There is, again, it gets very fine line differences. There's a difference between, and I acknowledge it's a fine line between someone who is renting out something like a co-living where each, and in most cases, what we're envisioning is somebody's constructing stuff, but they could retrofit, but that each unit has its own door, its own lease, its own whatever, and there's specific common areas. There are people who choose to say, hey, I want 4 roommates, and we're all gonna pay a chunk, and we all get our room, or we share rooms, and we share things. Those are not considered under this type of thing. Those are shared family roommate space, and they're processed differently, and they're handled differently. And I acknowledge those are very close, but there is a slight difference that we recognize.
So let me try to word this the way I'm understanding it. If I lived in my house, which I do, and I had space for rental for other folks, rental being shared cost of housing proportionally to each one, how am I assured that they conduct that as a business? Because it is a business.
I guess it depends.
I mean, do they have to have a permit stated to the city to bring in other folks to pay to live in the house?
A family is considered anyone who chooses to live together as a unit. So I can have people unrelated to me living in my house, helping pay expenses, but we are choosing to live together, share kitchens, share the bathrooms. Those are not businesses that we are shared living. I may own the house. They may be helping me pay for those. So in essence, I'm charging them something. But in those cases, those are not considered a business for those, because again, families are anyone who chooses to live together.
And I'm just trying to look at the difference between somebody paying a fee to live in a house or somebody as a family member to live in the house. If they're paying a fee, that's a business transaction. And how?
My daughter lives
How do
in
we
my.
find that?
My adult daughter lives, I'll give you a perfect example. My adult daughter lives in my house. I make her pay me a monthly rent to help go through her expenses. If I choose, I have had a friend of a different daughter live in our basement and she helped pay. We're not running a business per se. And we wouldn't be considered that by the city of Tacoma because we are choosing to let people who we are running as a family. I understand it's a fine line, but under the definitions of both the city and the state, a family is as many people, whether you are related by blood, marriage, or not related at all, who choose to cohabitate together. So I can choose to have other people live in my house with me as a family unit, and it's not a business. If you are advertising, you get a room for rent, and here's your individual lease that's just for you, and it's in a multifamily zone, and you can structure it that way, then it falls under. Again, acknowledging it's a fine line, acknowledging there's ways to abuse it if somebody does, but this is required as an option within the multifamily zone. You are allowed to have other people share your rent with you. You can be college students, you could be friends, you could be strangers to begin with. And that's the lines that go.
I'm still confused a bit. So I'd like to see whatever information you may have access to, defining what's the difference between when you rent part of your house to a stranger, or you rent part of your house to even a family member, and you take proceeds to support the house. When does it technically become a business? Because you are charging somebody for a property. If they do things in like terms with you, that's a little bit different. But it's also the same thing if somebody comes that's a total stranger to you, not connected to you through any lineage or any marriages or sons and daughters and so forth. If it's a total stranger, how do we know the difference? And when does it become a business, legitimate business, which requires licensing and to some degree, a little bit more oversight for the city?
I'd be
When does
happy,
that happen?
sorry.
Pardon?
I'd be happy to send the backup information that I have spoken about tonight, if that would be helpful.
Well, I certainly think before we take an action, I'd like to see it.
Again, I would say this is required by state law. This has been approved and recommended by the Planning Commission. We've held a public hearing, but obviously it's up for vote with the council.
I'm very honored to have the Planning Commission and everybody go to it, but I think to see the legal documentation that you are somewhat referring to would be appropriate to see at council before we take action on this. So I would not participate in an action taking on this item tonight.
Well, Councilmember Whalen, we are going to vote on it. You do not have to vote.
I'm-
We are going to vote on this item tonight, and if you're not comfortable with voting as a yay, you do not have to. But can I I got a little confused in this conversation, so I want to make sure that I completely understand. When Councilmember Whalen was talking about his personal home and renting out, that's not even in the proper zone for co-living dwelling.
Correct. It wouldn't, there's not the proper term for co-live. It's not the proper zone for co-living. I know that people do share their houses with other people and they take in rent for that. And people feel like, well, isn't that the same thing? And there is slight differences. It's not clean cut as it should be. And I'm sure over the next couple of years, hopefully it will become that.
Okay. And so, in listening to the conversations we had last time on this topic and then tonight, I hate to use a reference like a sorority house because sometimes those have bad raps. But you mentioned like our retirement facility. It's kind of similar to that where people have individual rooms with a door that locks and they have individual leases to that room. Whereas when you invite your daughter to live in your home, she doesn't have an individual lease. If the mortgage has to get paid, the mortgage has to get paid. Whereas my understanding about this co-living is that if you have 5 people living in a house in their each individual bedroom, and one person's not paying rent, the other 4 don't get kicked out.
Correct.
And that's what the state is trying to do, is protect individual renters in a bigger development or home.
And that may be a better way to explain it.
Okay. I just want to make sure, I was getting a little confused. I want to make
Yeah,
sure I
sorry.
understood. Okay.
No, it's,
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Councilmember Hall?
Do you see any needed looking at the codes, like not permitting codes, but occupancy codes? Is there any safety thing, anything that we need to do ahead of time? As far as if they're all in different rooms, is there going to be escape issues or anything like that?
so the international building codes cover those things. If someone is using something as a bedroom, whether it's in a house, in a an apartment complex, whether it's in a senior facility, there are certain protections. The windows have to be certain sizes, certain
Yeah.
space off the ground. There have to be exits. If it's large enough, there has to be sprinkler systems. So from a safety standpoint, those all are covered. And that's where, like I said, if you're building it from scratch, obviously that's the easiest. If somebody was wanting to convert it, then we would have to look at it from all of those building safeties and and we've had people convert houses to offices. We have to do that. So we are practiced at that.
So I just want to make sure we understand. Only the blue areas, which is multi-use, are allowed. Not homes, not just the blue areas.
Yeah. The only thing I realized that I should have at least acknowledged is what we call our NR2. It does allow multifamily if you go through a conditional use permit. So that's sort of the slightly darkerish yellow around our town center. But if they were, and that doesn't matter the size. So if anyone wanted to convert something, it would do a conditional use permit, which means a public hearing and everything. So otherwise, the other areas, it would be allowed outright.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you still have a question?
Like would a family group home, like my mom lives in a family group home, would this fit under the definition of this?
And this is where, again, it gets a little, so there are certain family group homes that are allowed if they're state certified in any zone. And so if it falls under that, adult family homes, if they're certified by the state and they have certain limits on how many people can be in them, then those are allowed anywhere.
Okay.
But again, they have to be certified. They have to go through all of the approval process of the state for those.
So it is a slightly different animal.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay, it is an action item. Are there any questions from or not questions, comments from the audience? Susan Johnson? Please make sure to state your name and your city, and hold on 1 second. We're setting the timer.
Susan Johnson, Milton. Here we go. Don't set it. It says 7 minutes. Okay. I owned a home at one time. Could not, when my mortgage required me to have roommates, non-family. I worked with people. They stayed with me. They helped pay for the rent. Here, I have taken in 2-legged puppy dogs that have needed help, and they have stayed in our basement on a cot, a bed, whatever they needed. That is the purpose of co-living, because there are many people that can't do it on their own. And there are businesses, but when it comes, a person can have a single family home and you'd have no idea whether they were family or not family. But if you are helping other people in need, you may have a room, women that are out of an abuse situation and needs to roam with their kids. That is sort of the purpose. Difference is, in the co-living, you have a lease. You have a lease with whoever's owning that unit. In a private home, a lot of people don't have a lease, never did. It's just an agreement. You can stay here. How long do you need to stay here? This is an option. We are in such a dire need in our country for people in need to have places that are safe, and our city is safe. These co-living need to be approved. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Oh, Nick.
Long time no see. I say Nicholas Gordon. Though I respect Susan's opinions and the value that this has, and unfortunately I wasn't, privy or wasn't aware of the.
Microphone to be closer to the mouth because it's that little one.
This one?
Yeah, and
I wasn't privy to the civil service meetings, or I wasn't aware that was on the docket. So, ignorance on my part obviously is an excuse. What I caution is, you mentioned a dorm or a shared living space. And from a public safety standpoint, to me, that just screams nightmare. You have 4 families, 5 families, people that don't know each other, sharing, common areas, things like that. You also have people moving in next door to you that you don't have the privilege of meeting like you would in a co-op for a condo, where people vote on who gets to move in. Though I see the value in it, I see what it can do. I also see there's some serious areas for public safety that need to be addressed. So, thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Okay. Any other comments from council? Okay. It has been moved by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve ordinance 2109-25 related to co-living dwellings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
no.
Carried 4-1. Moving on to council reports. Councilmember Whalen. We're doing council reports.
And we're starting here?
Yep, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was trying to put
No,
this
that's
away,
okay.
so. Just an observation in the city. We have elections coming. We have 2 elections coming. We've got a primary and an election in November. Signs are going up in the city, and I appreciate them greatly. But I want to emphasize to folks that this year, we looked at the sign code and made some substantial changes and so forth. Temporary signs meaning, I'm referring to the vote for me type signs, are being placed in the city not according to code. Some signs are they're not the 30-inch or the 3 feet level. They're at 6 feet, attached to trees and other means and so forth. And I think it's unfortunate that folks that are running for a council position or a mayor's position don't adhere to the code that we, as a council here, and everybody here has done, approved this year. So those that are running, please take a look at what you approved if you're a member, and make sure that you abide by the code we all approved, because it's not happening. It's the easiest thing to do is to catch it early and assign, let folks give them an opportunity to change the signs, as opposed to being 6 feet attached to a tree or way up an embankment because, well, for whatever reason, the signs at 3-foot level adjacent to the roadway and so forth is generally what we anticipate. And I think we should look at that and be sure that we're adhering to that. It's, right now it's a thin group, but it's going to expand rather rapidly in this city. So please take heed to that. You can look at the code we approved, especially the, I think the document is labeled what's allowed under signs. Just take a look at it, be sure that what's happening in the city, and if you see anything that is a little bit amiss of that, don't be embarrassed or shy of mentioning something. That's primarily what I wanted to mention, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hall?
I mentioned to Mayor, can we get Westock to come in and give us an update on the 167 and the trail?
Yeah, we've put that request in.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing some safety issues down there with children on that bridge they put in. They were actually on the outside of it tonight over the water, and I said, either you get off or I'm calling our guys, because it's just not ready for people to use. And it concerns me that children are down there by themselves, and if an adult doesn't step in, there could be an accident that could happen. Also, the stage ribbon cutting was amazing. We predicted it would be used. We predicted if we built it, the city would come, but there was a lot of people there, and everybody was impressed with it and looking forward to the use of it. So thank you
Yeah.
for everybody that was a part of that.
Thank you. Councilmember Peretti?
I just want to thank the police department for doing their work or their due diligence with our friendly speeding bike kids all over the place. And my wife and I walk a lot in the city, and I'm looking forward to up across from the post office getting those cameras in, because right now, even the crosswalks up there, I can't tell you how many times we've just about been clipped by people running that light up there up by, and we need to get the cameras in because we got to stop this. Somebody's going to get killed here pretty soon.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Councilmember White?
Yeah, I want to thank Clay Howard for coming and addressing this water meter issue. He had sent, or his wife had sent, an email to the council with this comparison, which caused me to look at the last rate study in which this issue was not a part of it. And so it brings up a lot of questions as to the business justification of this, especially on a residential use. Is the cost of service different on a residence based on the meter size? Does it cost the city additional money to service a residence with a 1-inch meter as opposed to a 3/4 inch meter? Do you know?
From a cost standpoint, the materials, obviously, there's an increased cost, but
That's a one-time cost, is it not?
correct. The increase was justified originally to help promote conservation. Really, the only time a 1-inch meter is needed in a residential is for a very large house with substantial usage, or multifamily where a sprinkler system is required. And that's more of a business standpoint. So there's a couple solutions, and we'll work with Mr. and Mrs. Howard to find those. But that's why we historically have had that cost increase, was to discourage from overconsumption. We have a finite amount of water in our system, and conservation is key to help us sustain our water utility in the summer months.
Okay, so wouldn't an increasing cost based on usage make more sense? Because certainly someone with a 3/4 inch meter could water their lawn 24 hours a day and waste a lot of water.
There's a tiered system that would kick into effect for usage. So that is already established.
Okay, I just think that based on the other water utilities in the area, I think we're we're way out of line with the market. I realize there's no competition to us, but in a sense, these other jurisdictions are competition in terms of as the residents have shown, they can go and look and feel like they're getting ripped off. And so I'd like to see a justification for that.
That would likely require some additional rate study and a dedication of funds by council to go back and reevaluate that rate study. A potential solution is to downgrade or reduce the size of the meter. If it's truly not needed, we'd be happy to swap that out for a 3/4 inch.
Okay. One of the things that I believe they had mentioned to me is someone from your department had come out and said that the reason that the meter is there is because of the slope that the home is on from the street. So at least, I guess, it would be nice if they could speak to someone and know what the difference would be if they did switch it out.
Of course.
Because I know it's a rental, but the owner is willing to work with the city to do whatever is necessary.
Understood.
All right, thank you.
And we'll continue to work on it. We have been working on it and have responded to the residents, but it hasn't gone on deaf ears.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I've experienced in the last 2 weeks one thing that the city does really well, and that's putting on events. Went to the Memorial Day service, the ribbon cutting, and very well attended. And now both events were moving in 2 different ways, of course, as you can probably assume. But it's just nice to go there and get to see the people that in the city that are involved with things like that. And I like that with the city, that we can all come together for events like that, and Milton Days too. Different people now changing course a little bit, going around talking to people around the city. One thing is common, and that is not just on 15th and Taylor. So it's, I don't know if it's a systemic problem, but everybody I've talked to has said, people blow past that stop sign all the time, wherever they are. People on Emerald, people on 23rd, 25th, Taylor that I've talked to. And you know, the comments are all the same, that people just roll right through those. I know somebody who lives on that corner, and they asked me, you know, that they've been concerned about it, but, you know, that was alarming to them, that, you know, right in front of your house. So I told them that, that I will bring that to council. I will bring that to the city, because I think that traffic calming is extremely important, especially after talking to the people that I've talked to, that it's not, you know, just the city that wants or needs it, but citizens want it too.
Okay, thank you. Planning Manager Stallnecker? Oh,
I-
Councilmember Whalen?
Forgive me.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow up just so I have a better understanding too about water system a little bit and the situation that has been presented here and so forth. Evidently, there's a 1-inch meter at the housing that we're speaking about. Okay, I don't know I don't know the physical meter and what's the price of, you know, just the 3/4 inch meter as opposed to the 1-inch meter. I'm sure they are physically different, so there's more expense. But the possibility is that they could reduce down to a 3/4 inch meter at that particular property. What type of expenses is just to come out and take the meter and put a new one in, a smaller one?
They're minimal.
Minimal.
Yes.
So that would likely resolve this difference between a $39 charge for a 3/4 inch meter to $146 for a 1-inch meter. That would reduce that right then.
Correct.
That's just sounds like a viable way to resolve the issue. I don't know why they have a 1-inch meter on there. They may have sprinkler system and hoses or spas and so forth. But if they don't need that, that sounds like a reasonable and justified reason to replace it. Thanks.
Thank you. Planning Manager Stallnecker?
Just I guess if it's interesting things that council might be interested in. We did approve, we're going to have our first fireworks sales stand for the first time in I don't know how many years. It'll be at the corner where the old Hollywood Video is. They are aware that they can only sell the fireworks that are allowed to be in the city of Milton. But they will, and there's only, I think it's like the 28th through the 4th is what they're running. But I just figured it's an interesting little fun fact, I guess, for the day.
Director Madden?
Nothing additional?
Nope. Chief?
Just wanted to update council that we just had an interview today and the mayor met a candidate to fill our current vacant position. And she was selected, so we will have another female. So that brings our grand total to 4 females. I think probably statistically, we are probably one of the highest department ratio to females in the department. And so she'll be starting on the 16th, and she comes to us from King County Sheriff's Office. So we're glad to have her as a new addition. We currently have an officer that is finishing their field training program, and they have about 2 weeks, and then they'll be hitting the street. Solo officer. And I think I also mentioned that Hector Aponte was selected as the new sergeant. So we have Hector as well. And the cameras are still on track. We're hoping to have those by August. And I was looking at the numbers. The report came out a couple days ago. And so far, year to date, we've done over 2,000 traffic stops. That's traffic stops. That doesn't include our DUIs. DUIs are up over 100%. So our officers are out there really doing a great job of trying to do traffic calming and deter people that are not following the law. So slow down, wear your seatbelt. That'll be my new mantra. And if you see something, say something.
Well, and I know our officers are stopping for California stops because I've gotten several residents call me about it. So it is happening. So I know they're out there. Hey, did we announce about Detective Kling? I can't remember. Did we do that yet?
And I forgot to mention, we did have a person who was promoted into the detective position, and that is female officer. That's Detective Kling. And so she is our new detective as well.
Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the update, but I want to mention something too. I don't know during the day and so forth how much everybody is driving around town and so forth, but electric bikes on sidewalks, horrible situation. And they're very inconsiderate of walkers. The older you get, the less consideration I have for them. And something needs to be, some program, some way to mitigate that. I don't know what I could mention for public safety to help that, but it's in the Safeway parking lot, all across the parking lot, and through the parking lot, not up and down the lanes. They come between cars and they just rock it. That's one of their favorite places to go. And you see at certain times, even now with school's not out quite yet and so forth, you see groups of 4 or 5 or 6 on the sidewalk, and they do not pay attention to the general public. Or when they do, they're a bit arrogant. I don't know what else to say, but I just want to throw that back in for public safety, that we need to do something different. And if we have to take the bike away from them because they're arrogant and so forth, take it away and let the parents come and deal with you. But it's problematic, Milton Way especially. So, thank you for the time.
Okay. Just a couple, Councilmember White?
I was just hoping that you could make part of your report an update on the fireworks committees.
That will be coming to council the next regular meeting.
Okay, did we get somebody to sign up?
We did, yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, that will come in 2 weeks. Only thing I just want to add this evening is we are in full force planning mode for all the summer events. So just stay connected on our website for information on that. And then just to start thinking about Milton Days this year and participating in the parade. which will be August 16th at 11 a.m. That's all I got. Anything else? All right. So seeing that everything on the agenda has been concluded, I will adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock p.m.